with the mic just keep cutting off, you know. um, yeah. All right. What was I saying? Last week we looked at the book of Jubilees, just chapter 1. So this week we're going to be looking at chapter 2. Yeah, we're looking at just chapter 2. And we're going to be bouncing backwards and forwards from other Bible verses to give credence to the book of Jubilees. Okay? So we're going to be predominantly in the book of Jubilees, but intermittently we're going to be looking at other verses in the Bible to give credence to the book of Jubilees, you know? Precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Are you guys able to hear though? Because I'm hearing people say there's no sound. Okay, if there's no sound. All right, if there's sound, yeah, do me a favor and just put a 1 in the box. If there's no sound, okay, you can hear, yeah? All right, that's fine, that's fine. Okay. Okay, all right, glory to you that we have volume, we have noise. Okay, so, boom, bang, bing. So let's start today with chapter 2 of Jubilees, and we're looking at verse 1. Jubilees chapter 2, verse 1. What was Moshe to write? Now Moshe is Moses. If you are a Hebrew who's from a Muslim background, you might call him Al Musa. If you're a Christian, you might say Moses. His Hebrew name's Moshe. So what was Moshe to write? And what was the sign of creation? So they're the two questions I want you guys to try and draw out from this verse. So let's read. And the angel of presence spake to Moses according to the word of the Lord, saying, write the complete history of creation, how in 6 days the Lord finished all his works and all he created, and kept Sabbath on the 7th day, and hallowed it for all ages, and appointed it as a sign for all his works. So, what was Moshe told to write? Moshe was told to write the complete history of the creation. Okay. What was a sign of creation? And kept Sabbath on the 7th day, and hallowed it for all ages, and appointed it as a sign of all his works. So the sign of his works, the sign of his creation, was the Sabbath. I got a scripture here from Ecclesiastes when it says, Lo, this only have I found, that Yah had made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions. So, the Most High has made us a certain way, but we as men, as mankind, humanity, we've sought out our own inventions, you know? Whatever factory we've came out of has determined our factory settings, you know? So there's this one baby here. Let me just put him up so you can see. Baby's just come out. Doctors have got him. Well, not the doctors, the nurses, or whatever you want to call them. Got the baby. And they've got a fish emblem ready to, you know, ready to print him with his factory setting. And then you got all the other factory setting pieces on the table. You got the cross, crescent moon, the star, and I don't know what that other symbol is. I ain't got a Scooby-Doo. Okay, but you get the point. So depending on your factory setting is depending on your belief system. And then you got this one here says, so you don't believe the Bible because man wrote it, but you believe textbooks that men wrote. So, you know, depending on your, like I say, your factory setting, you might be atheist, agnostic, Christian, Hindu, Sikh, yada, yada, yada. Or you might be in the occult, you know, you might be on some Darwinism, Catholicism, Mormonism, Adventism, any ism or schism you want to put in there, evolution, Big Bang, etc., etc. So we know that in that text, Moses was told to write the history of creation, meaning that we were created. And the sign of our creation, or the sign of the Most High's creation, was the Sabbath. All right. How long was Moses with Yah? So we looked at last Sabbath that Moses was called out on the seventh day to go to the mountain to then converse with the Most High, and etc. etc. So this is the precept just to back it from the Exodus account. And the Lord said unto Moses, write thou these words, for after the tenor of these words I have made a covenant with thee and with Israel. And he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. So how long was Moses with Yah? He was with Yah 40 days and 40 nights, according to Exodus 34, verse 28. Okay. How long did Ezra's and his companions take to write their books? Second Ezra's 14 to 42. We're going to go to 45. The highest gave understanding unto the 5 men, and they wrote the wonderful visions of the night that were told, which they knew not. And they sat 40 days, and they wrote in the day, and at night they ate bread. In 40 days they wrote 204 books. Wow, okay. And it came to pass, when the 40 days were filled, that the highest spake, saying, the first thou hast written, publish openly, that the worthy and the unworthy may read it. But keep the 70 last, that thou mayest deliver them unto such as be wise among the people. For in them is the spring of understanding, the fountain of wisdom, and the stream of knowledge. So we see Moses got his revelation of the Genesis account, 40 days away, and we see these guys also completed the understanding that the Most High gave to them in 40 days also. And you guys could probably just think of many examples and scenarios where 40 days has a significance, you know. And we could probably do a whole list of 40s here and there. But I just thought I'd bring that and parallel that so you can see. All right, next slide. Bit of trivia. Did you know Yeshua HaMashiach never worshipped on Sundays in terms of observing the Sabbath? He worshipped every day, but the Sabbath can only be observed the 7th day of the week, which is tied into worship. Worship is what you do and what you don't do. Yeah? He never bowed down to idols. He never looked at Rome as the new Israel. He never started a new religion. He never voided the commandments. He never used rosaries in prayer. He never observed pagan feasts. He never spoke out against the commandments. He never erected a Christmas tree. He never called any man a pastor. Was never born on December the 25th. Was never called Jesus or Iusus or Jesus or Papoose or mongoose, like never, nothing with goose or papoose, nothing, yeah? Did keep all Bible command feasts, did read and quote from the Torah, did eat only Bible, Torah-based foods, did call everyone to repentance, and did fulfill over 300 prophecies, yeah? 1 Corinthians, be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Yahuwah. 1 Corinthians 11 verse 1. Now the trivia is, every religion has a nation or a nationality, yeah, associated with that religion. Yeah, you can have, you know, a bit of overlap and you can have it where it mingles, but by and large, there's definitely a nation or a nationality connected to a religion. So when you look at Christianity from its infancy, from Constantine all the way up until now, yeah, you're gonna have a very diverse entity, but by and large, it was introduced or it was created by Europeans. Now, when you look at Buddhism, there you have a lot of Europeans in Buddhism, and you have other people, entering into Buddhism. But by and large, it's pretty much an Asian religion. It's pretty much a Chinese, Vietnamese, GCSEs religion. Then when it comes to Islam, it's pretty much an Arab-based religion. Yeah, you have Pakistanians, you have Somalians, you have other things in it too, but by and large, it's an Arab-based religion. Then when you go to Judaism, you have Ashkenazism, Sephardicism, and all these other isms and schisms. So by and large, that religion is Ashkenazi or Sephardic or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so it has a European flavor. Likewise with Hinduism, it's pretty much the same. It's an Elamite religion, not Edom, Elamite. Yeah, the Elams. So Indians, for want of a better word, more contemporary. So when you look at Hinduism, it's pretty much an Indian-based religion. So we've seen every nationality has its own religion. Yeah? People of our diaspora, rather in the Christianity box, the Buddhism box, the Islam box. Some of us even convert to the Judaism of the Ashkenazis. And then some people are even Hindus and agnostics and this, that, and the other. But the Most High did not give man religion so that we should differ in beliefs. We were given laws and commandments. Yeah, so we weren't. When you look at Donald Trump's religion is this, Christianity. Look at this fellow. His religion is this, Judaism. Look at this guy. His religion is this, Buddhism. We look at the Arab man. His religion is this, Islam. When you look at the Hindu woman, her religion is this. Or the Indian, sorry, her religion is this, Hinduism. Now when you look at our people, we're all over the gaff. A lot of us are in here, either Protestants or Catholics or Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses or whatever. Or we're in Buddhism. Or we're just all over the gaff. Yeah? But we were never given these religions to begin with. We were only given laws and commandments. And during this Jubilee study, you're going to see unequivocally, unapologetically as we go through. So, swiftly moving on. So, the following verse I have covered extensively on a study just related to this one verse, showing and proving and this, that, and the other. But for the sake of time, I'm not really going to be going on this particular verse for too long. Yeah? But I'll just introduce you guys to it again. So Jubilees, chapter 2, verse 2 to 3. For on the first day, he created the heavens, which are above, and the earth and the waters, and all the spirits which serve before him, the angel of presence, and the angels of sanctification, and the angels of the spirit of fire, and the angels of the spirit of winds, and the angels of the spirits of clouds, and of darkness, and of snow, and of hail, and of hoarfrost, and the angels of voices, and of thunder, and of lightning, and the angels of spirits of cold, and of heat, and of winter, and of spring, and of autumn, and of summer, and all the spirits of his creatures which are in the heavens and on the earth. He created the abysses, the darkness, the eventide, and the light dawn, and the day, which he have prepared in the knowledge of his heart. Wow. So there's a lot of things that was made on day one. In the let's read the Genesis account. I'll just throw it in. Thought I had it in there. My bad. So Genesis account, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So that's the Genesis account. And then this is giving you more insight into what's going on the Genesis account. Okay? Now, what is another name for angels? So we saw there, it says, for on the first day he created the heavens which are above, and the earth and the waters and all the spirits which serve before him. And then it goes on to say the angel of presence. So when he's talking about spirits and angels, it's kind of synonymous, for want of a better word. So when it says, what is another name for angels? If you go to Hebrews, it says, and of the angels he saith, who make of his angel spirits, and his ministers a flame of fire. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? Now, how many things were made on the first day? Let's go to verse 3. It says, and thereupon we saw his works, and praised him, and lauded before him on account of all his works. For 7 great works did he create on the first day. So how many things were created on the first day? 7. Let's go to Amos 5 verse 8. Seek him that maketh the 7 stars and Orion, and turneth the shadow of death into morning, and maketh the day dark with the night, that calleth for waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. Yahweh is his name. Okay. What symbol are angels identified with in scripture? Job 38, 4 to verse 7. Now, this is the Most High having a conversation with Job, because Job's called out to him and said, yo, he's going through all this stuff. And he says, you know what, I need to talk to the Most High myself here, because what's going on? I'm not happy with it. So I want to talk to the Most High. So the Most High then he comes to him and gives him an opportunity to have a conversation. And the Most High just asks 1,000,001 questions to show him that he doesn't really know anything. So that's the backdrop behind the next verse you're going to hear. So Job 38, 4 to 7. It says, where was thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Who have laid the measures thereof? If thou knowest, or who have stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. So stars is another symbol for angels, but we're going to see more as we go through the slides as well. Now, interestingly, when you look at verse 2, you've got like an order of angelic host. And then we know in 1 Corinthians 14 verse 40, it says, let everything be done decently and in order. Now, there's a scripture that I was looking for, but I wasn't able to find it, unfortunately, where it says everything's made and given a job. When Adam was made, he wasn't made jobless. He wasn't made unemployed. He had a job. So his job was to look after the garden, look after the animals, etc. Yeah, everything's kind of made with a job. The angels have a job to do. You have ministering angels, you have this, you have that. So there's an order of heavenly hosts too. You have cherubim, you have seraphim, you know. So there is an order on earth, and there's order definitely in heaven, you know. There's order in the body of Christ. You have prophets, you have apostles, you have teachers, you have preachers, you have helps, and there's all types of administrations. There's even order in your marriage, you know. You have a husband, you have a wife, and you have children. But the head of the husband is Yeshua, and the head of Yeshua, fill in the blank, Yahuwah. Okay, and then there's order in the sanctuary too. So not everyone, not all Israel could go into the sanctuary and do certain services. It was only one tribe that could do that. But then even within that tribe, there was only a particular sons that could facilitate as high priests. And then even as priest, you couldn't have a certain defect to be a priest. So there's always order. Everything's so meticulous and everything's so in order, you know. So we're going to flush this idea out a little bit more as we go through the next couple of slides, because I know, as when I first saw this, I was like, I've never seen that in my life. Okay. I was a bit cynical, skeptical. Then as you go through, it just all matches up perfectly. But okay. So we see there, it says 7 things were created. So the 7 things were the angel of presence, sanctification, fire and wind, cloud, darkness, snow and hail, hoarfrost. Then voices of thunder and lightning, then cold heat, winter, spring, summer, etc. And then creatures in heaven and on earth. Yeah. Now, like I said, there's a study where we go into this. I think it's like an hour and a half long, like just paralleling precepts and precepts, yeah. But I just put a few in there just so you can see. Luke chapter 1 verse 19. Now we're looking at the angel of presence. It says, and the angel answering said unto him, I am Gabriel that stand in the presence of Yahuwah, and am sent to speak unto thee, and to show thee these glad tidings. So Gabriel is an angel of presence. Exodus 14 verse 19. And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them, and the pillar of the cloud went from their face and stood behind them. Remember the pillar of the cloud and the fire by day, etc., etc. Was it fire by night? I think it was a cloud by day and fire by night, or fire by night and cloud by day. But you get the picture, yeah? Revelation 8 verse 4. And smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before Yahuwah out of the angel's hand. So the angel is taking the prayers to the Most High. The angel is that deliverer, that UPS for the Most High. He sends and receives messages. He's like Amazon. Hopefully you got Prime, because you'll be waiting forever. But yeah, he's Amazon Prime. You know, he's in the presence. So you have different administrations when it comes to the heavenly hosts. The same way as on earth as in heaven. You know, every government, you have the president, the one who runs the show, but he doesn't run it by himself. He has departments and administrations. You have the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Defense, Foreign Ministry, etc. The Most High operates in a similar way, you know. But I would have you to know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is Yahuwah. So there's an order to things. And like I said, quickly blasting through this particular one because we've covered this, like I said, for an hour and a half. So I don't want to stay on this one all day. So let's continue. Now, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13. Surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant and could not. Sorry, this screen is so small. All right, let me move that closer. All right. Surely vain are all men by nature who are ignorant of God, and could not out of the good things that are seen know him that is, neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workmaster, but deemed either fire or wind, or the swift air, or the circle of the stars, or the violent water, or the lights of the heaven, to be the gods which govern the world. Okay, stay with it. With those beauty, if they being delighted took them to be gods. Let them know how much better the Lord of them is, for the first author of beauty have created them. But if they were astonished at their power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier he is that made them. For by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionally, the maker of them is seen. So what was happening was that angel worship was a kind of a real thing that was going on. People were forgetting that these angelic hosts were UPS men for the Most High, and were kind of starting to worship these angels. And you'll see more as we go through. So if you look at the bottom, you'll see the papacy. They had a hat that's got a star in. If you look at the Wicca, the neo-pagans or New Age pagans, they have the star. Most satanic occult worships have the star. If you go to Revelation 2 verse 9, it says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. Now, I thought if you could see that, let me make it a bit bigger. You see all these stars in religion, in law, in money, in politics, and in magic. Okay, where did Lucifer fall from? Isaiah 14 verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? So where did Lucifer fall from? Lucifer fell from heaven. Okay, because you know this is actually okay. I won't go into that. All right, Revelation 12 verse 12. Where did the devil fall to? Revelation 12 verse 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that ye have but a short time. Now did he come alone? Revelation 12 verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered for to devour her as soon as it was born. So I'm just showing you how star worship, Star Wars, star worship, worshipping fallen stars. Even you look at Paramount and you got the stars that come and the opening screen. There's a lot of when you look at all these paganism and these occult practices, you'll see the star intimately connected to their worship practice. Worshipping demons, fallen angels, spirits, but not the spirits of Yahuwah, the spirits from the other side. And I hope you can see that crystal kind of clear now. All right, let's go to the next one. What is Yeshua known as? Now, when I say known as, he's known as many things. He's known as the carpenter. He's known as the door. He's known as the bread. He's known as a prophet. He's known as the son of the Most High, Yahuwah. He's got many different titles, isn't it? But staying on the theme of stars and this, that, the other, what is he known as? So, Numbers 24, verse 17. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheph. So he's known as what? Star of Jacob, or star out of Jacob. Yeah? Revelation 22:16. I, Yeshua, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. So we see angel and star being linked up again. Stars and angels, angels and stars. Yeah? But he's known as what? The bright and morning star. Okay, cool. Let's continue. 2 Peter says, we have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto ye do well that you take heed, as unto a light that shineth in a dark place, until the day dawn and the day star arise in your hearts. Now, what do both titles have in common? Let's read the account of Lucifer again. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? O Lucifer, son of the morning. Revelation says that Yeshua is called the morning star. Now, I'm not saying they're the same, I'm not saying any of that. But what I'm trying to get you to see is the enemy always tries to counterfeit the truth and lead others into false worship. He always tries to counterfeit the truth and lead others into false worship. So that's why I said there's always a thin line between truth and error. There's always a thin line between deception, And look how look how he tries to copy more or less an attribute of Yeshua by calling himself or being a son of the morning. Just something to think about. When Israel strayed, who did they worship? Who did they often worship? Amos 5:26. But you have borne the tabernacle of Molech and Shuin, your images, the star of your God. Now it's a lowercase g, which ye made to yourselves. Now is Molech based on a fallen angel? I know we're on Jubilees and we've gone here, there and everywhere. We're going to get back to Jubilees, but that's just something to think about. Yeah, we've seen it wasn't just Lucifer, the devil that fell. He fell with some of his people, and they're known as stars. And then when we look at the occult, we see it's intimately connected to star worship, star this, star that. Everybody, I'm a celebrity, and there's a star for a celebrity. There's the stars in law enforcement, the stars in money, the stars on flags, the stars in magic, and the stars in religion. And it's just a very interesting thing. But, let's move on. So I hope you can see that anyway, before we move on. I just want to bring that point home. I just want to say one more time, the enemy always tries to counterfeit the truth and bring others into false worship. So when Yahshua is saying, I am that morning star, he's called the son of the morning too. When Yahshua says, I am the Lion of Judah, the Bible says Satan walks around like a lion seeking who he can devour. So he's always, trying to fit himself into a position that's not his. He's always trying to, he's always trying to take someone else's identity, trying to make people see, He's always trying to take somebody's identity and try to pass it off as his own, But, we won't go any further with that. We just stop. All right, boom. Okay, so what was made on day 2? Okay, on the second day, he created the firmament in the midst of the waters, and the waters were divided on that day. Half of them went up above, and half of them went down below the firmament that was in the midst over the face of the whole earth. And this was the only work Yahuwah created on the second day. So that was the only work that took place on the second day. The separation of the waters, of the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and every other sphere that comes into that. All right, then, boom, shack. So, what was made on day 3? On the day 3. So, on the third day, he commanded the waters to pass. Oh, on the third day, he commanded the waters to pass from off the face of the whole earth into one place, and the dry land to appear. And the waters did so as he commanded them, and they retired from off the face of the earth into one place outside of his firmament, and the dry land appeared. And on that day, he created them for all the seas according to their separate gathering places, and all the rivers, and the gatherings of the waters in the mountains, and on all the earth, and all the lakes, and all the dew of the earth, and the seed which is sown, and all the sprouting things, and the fruit-bearing trees, and the trees of the wood, and the garden of Eden. In Eden, all the plants after their kind. These 4 great works Yah created on the third day. So what was made on the third day? Those 3 great things that we just read. All right, so let's move on. What was made on day 4, and what was prosperity for? What was made on day 4, and what was prosperity for? Okay, Jubilees 2:8 to verse 10. These 4, okay, that's still dealing with the third day. And on the 4th day, he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. So we know that in when we read in verse 1, when he's talking about light and angels, and in Genesis it says, "Let there be light," and it also says Satan comes as an angel. Comes as an angel of what? Light. We know it's a different light he's talking about. So day 1 was the creation of the angelic hosts, and now we're seeing the celestial body. Now we're seeing actual stars. Day 1 we saw the heavenly host, but now we're seeing actual stars. So not metaphorical, allegorical, none of that stuff. Just literally the stars, the sun and the moon. Okay? Just so that everyone's on the same path, same page, same wave. Okay. So, and on the 4th day, he created the sun, the moon, the stars, and set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. And Yah appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Sabbaths of years, and for Jubilees, and for all the seasons of the years. And it divided the light from the darkness, and for prosperity, that all may prosper which shoot and grow on the earth. So prosperity was for all that shoot and grow on the earth. The sun was supposed to prosper your harvest. It was supposed to prosper your land. It was supposed to prosper your produce. Hence why we see Israel was often very much inclined to not worship the Most High, the creator of the heavens and the earth, but to just worship the creation instead of the creator. You know, somebody said, yo, if you worship Baal, he'll help your crops. You'll get better, you'll get a better yield. If you worship the sun deity as opposed to the deity that created the sun, then, it'll work out better for you. So, there's times when Israel is praying and the elders, I believe, have their back turned to the temple to worship the sun in the east. Christianity is intimately linked to sun worship. It's not separated. It's always been a Christian thing. Many cultures, or should I say nations, have had an affinity towards sun worship. When you go all over the globe, you see the sun was worshipped. Now, when you think about it logically, it makes sense why they would worship the sun. In terms of when the sun comes out, everyone feels happy. It's hot. You can do more things. When it's a shorter duration of light, you can't do as much. So when it comes to commerce, money making, being able to have free time, you can see why they went to worship the sun. I'm not giving it an allowance at all. I'm just trying to get you guys to look into the psyche of people, because to be honest, people to this day still worship the sun. It hasn't gone anywhere. Now, Malachi 4 verse 2, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and he shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. So we see that Yeshua again, sometimes he's called a star, sometimes he's called the Son of Righteousness, sometimes he's called a door, sometimes he's called the bread, sometimes it's called many different things to describe how his characteristics, his attributes. Yeah? But it just goes to show that the sun has healing in its wings, vitamin D. There's a lot of, reactivates melanin. There's so much reasons for sun. But the sun is never to be worshipped. The sun is so beautiful, it makes people look good. But it's never to be worshipped. What was made on day 5? These 3 kinds he made on the 4th day. And what was made on the 5th day? And on the 5th day, he created sea monsters in the depths of the waters. But these were the first things of flesh that were created by his hands, the fish and everything that moves in the waters, and everything that flies, the birds and all their kinds. And the sun rose above them to prosper them, and above everything that was on the earth, everything that shoots out the earth, and all the fruit-bearing trees, and all flesh. So there we see the sun intimately linked to prospering fruit again, and humanity in and of itself. So the sun's there to bless people. Sometimes it overcooks people, some people, but generally it's there to be a rejuvenator for people, And these three kinds he created on the 5th day. So on the 5th day, he created the grey sea monsters, the flesh that was created by the fish, and everything that flies. So great sea monsters, fish, and everything that flies. And the sun rose above them to prosper them. Yeah? Very interesting. And those 3 things were made on the 5th day. A lot of references to the sun in the Jubilees when it comes to like healing and having a work of prospering people in health, And a lot of people of the diaspora, when they're in cold climates, their health drastically declines. Rickets, joint pains, this, that, and the other. But people who are more acclimatized to this climate, they actually, you know, they do okay in cold climates. But when you're from the diaspora and you're in a cold climate, yeah, you want that sun to come on you to prosper you. You got what I'm trying to say? But yeah, but never to be worshipped. Okay, so Genesis 1:21. Just to give a precept to that. And God created, or Yah created, the great whales and everything living, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind, and Yah saw it was good. So it says there, he created the great whales and everything that moves in the waters, and then every winged fowl. And then for a precept from Isaiah, just to back everyone else up, a third witness, Isaiah 27 verse 1. In that day the Lord, with his sore and great and strong sword, shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. So there was some pretty gigantic, enormous Leviathan looking something that was in the water at one time and could still be there in the deep. Who knows? But the Bible's clear. There was some things that we don't necessarily see today that would eclipse a whale that was in the water back then. You know, the Leviathan is quite often mentioned, Behemoth or Baphomet, or I can't remember how you pronounce it. But you know, there's things that were prevalent back in the day that these things were written that are probably gone extinct today, or probably not as common today. Okay, so what was made on day 6? These 3 kinds he create. Okay, why does it keep doing that? On the 6th day, he created all the animals of the earth, and all cattle, and everything that moves on the earth. And after all this, he created man. A man and a woman created he them, and gave him dominion over all that is upon the earth, and in the sea, and over everything that flies, and over beasts, and over cattle, and over everything that moves on the earth, and over the whole earth, and over all this, he gave him dominion. So over all those things, he gave him dominion. It wasn't joint. Obviously, it was joint, you get it, because there was imperfect harmony, but dominion was given to the man. But not to be misogynistic, you know. They both were in unison. It's only when sin came in, there was a discord between the psyche. Because like we've seen, in the Bible, everything's always made decently and in order. There's always an order to things, but the order's not to be draconian, the order's not to be tyrannical, and the order's not to be Kim Jong-jong, you get me? Or Donald Trump. The order's supposed to be compatible and you know, an extension of yourself. But verse 15 says, and these 4 things he created on the 6th day, and there were altogether 22 kinds. Wow. Okay. And these 4 things he created on the 6th day, and there were altogether 22 kinds. When I was doing this study, I said to my wife, yo, it says here 22 kinds. Now my wife's like a science woman, like that's her thing. And I was like, you know, taxonomy classifies animals in different way. I think it's Carl Linnaeus. Carl Linnaeus is the father of taxonomy, and taxonomy is the way you classify things. So one random scholar called Carlus Linnaeus, he invented taxonomy. So when you hear stuff like reptile, mammal, amphibian, etc., those labels were given by a guy called Carlus Linnaeus. He was the father of taxonomy. Now, according to Jubilees, he's saying there's 2 and at this point there was 22 kinds. I was like, raw, okay, that's interesting. We know During the time of Noah, there was a lot of, cross breeding, cross this, cross that, and then things started to get a bit hapwire and haphazard. But yeah, I just thought that was very interesting. 2 and 20 kinds. And it all depends, I guess, on how you classify the 2 and 20 kinds. You know what I'm trying to say? It all depends on how you classify the 2 and 20 kinds. You put all the cat, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you put all the cats in one box and, snakes in one box. Because, like I said, the father of taxonomy was able to classify animals into 5 types. Fish, reptile, mammal, amphibian, bird. Or if he didn't use those exact words, he used something reflective of that. So it also all depends on who's giving the label and who's giving the names. You know what I'm trying to say? Like today, for gender, today, for gender, for example, today, I think there's like 30, I don't even know. I'm making this up, so Salaki, I'm going to just throw a number out of the air. But I think for genders now, there's like about, maybe it's 20 different genders. Like asexual, no sexual, so sexual, high sexual, low sexual, intersexual. You get me? Where back in the day, there's just like 2 or 3 out of push. Hermaphrodite, or you know what I'm saying? Like there's just 3 or 2. So it all depends on who's giving the label, who's giving the title, and who's doing all that kind of judges, isn't it? So okay. Okay, so what was kept on heaven and in earth? Jubilees 2, 16 to 18. And he finished all the work, and he finished all his work on the 6th day. All that is in the heavens and on the earth, and in the seas, and in the abysses, and in the light, and in the darkness, and in everything. And he gave us a great sign, the Sabbath day, that we should work 6 days, but keep Sabbath on the 7th day from all work. And all the angels of presence, and all the angels of sanctification, these 2 great classes, he had bidden us to keep the Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth. In Genesis 2 verse 3, and God blessed the 7th day, sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which Yah created and made. So we know that the Most High wasn't sleeping, he wasn't having a cat nap or anything like that. When it says ceased, it means, like when you're in court and the guy with the hammer says, I rest my case, or whatever. The judge, or when he bangs that hammer and says whatever he says, rest my case. He doesn't immediately fall to sleep, or, he doesn't just, he doesn't just, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't just start Zing because he says he rests his case or whatever. So when it said the Most High ceased or stopped, it just means everything was done, everything was completed, nothing was left to do, everything was done. Shop closed, pretty much. Because some people, especially the Muslim brothers that I used to, back in the day when I was just on some debating mentality, now I just reason and keep it moving. They used to say, bro, you're saying that, they used to say, obviously they say Allah, they say you're saying Allah goes to sleep, or God goes to sleep, or this, that, the other. I'm saying, brother, I'm not saying he goes to sleep. You know what I'm saying? He says he just rested, like he was done in it. It was complete, it was finished. And I always have little humours with the so-called the Arab mandem, But all right, the next one. Jubilees 2, 19 to 21. So did we ask? Oh yeah, what was kept on heaven and in earth? So the answer to that one was Sabbath. I think we answered those. Oh yeah, 22 different kinds. I have a habit of just reading the verses and forgetting the questions. So I just read the verses, and I don't answer the questions that are in there, So let me just be methodical. But you know what? Sometimes you have to let the Spirit lead, Not sometimes, all the time you have to let the Spirit lead, So what nation was chosen before conception? So before they were inaugurated, before they had any being, what nation was called and why were they called? Let's find out. Jubilees 2:19 to 21. And he said unto us, Behold, I will separate unto myself a people from among all the peoples, and these shall keep the Sabbath day, and I will sanctify them unto myself as my people, and they will bless them, as I have sanctified the Sabbath day, and do sanctify unto myself. Even so will I bless them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their Yah. And I have chosen the seed of Jacob, or Jakub, from amongst all that I have seen. Let me just stop at certain points on this. And I've chosen the seed of Jacob, or Jacob, from amongst all that I have seen. Now this is what people need to understand, This is still the Genesis account, This is still Moses in the Mount with the Most High, Yahuwah, getting a revelation, writing it down, or someone's writing it for him, or he's writing it, but you get the point, you get the picture. And this is still in the Genesis narrative. This is still in Genesis chapter 1, because this is what it's comparative to. And it's mentioning Jacob in Genesis. It's mentioning Yasharal in Genesis. But in Genesis, there's no real mention of Yasharal. Interesting. Okay. And I have chosen the seed of Jacob from amongst all I have seen. Now question again. The Most High sees the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. He's outside of time and space, and he sees what goes on and he sees what's going to be. That's why he can forecast it perfectly. Because he sees what's going to happen and how it's going to happen and who's going to do this and who's going to betray him and who's going to do that. So he has the foresight. So when he's saying, I have seen, he's looked at all the nations, and he's weighed them in the balance. And, he might have found that nation wanting on there and that nation wanting on there. And even Jacob wasn't no angel. But out of all the seeds of men, he said, boy, I'll take my chances on Jacob. Very interesting. Now we know many are called and few are chosen, and there's a scripture that says not everyone created will be saved in Ezra's, and we also know that not all Israel is of Israel, and we know there's other scriptures. Don't think because Abraham's your father, because the Most High can make descendants from stones. You know there's loads of scriptures to not give us an ego complex and a big head complex, but nevertheless, the Most High chose, handpicked, selected Jacob from amongst all that I have seen. Very interesting. And this is still in the Genesis account. Okay. And I have chosen the seed of Jacob from amongst all that I have seen, and have written him down as my second born. Did it say that? All right, let me read that again. And I've written him down as my third born son. Okay, don't say that. I'm tripping. And I've written him down as my firstborn son, and have sanctified. Now, sanctified means to separate. And have sanctified him unto myself forever and ever. And I will teach him the Sabbath day, that they may keep the Sabbath thereon from all work. And thus he created therein a sign in accordance with which they should keep Sabbath with us on the seventh day, to eat and drink and to bless him who has created all things. And he has blessed and sanctified unto himself a peculiar people. Peculiar people. A peculiar people. So a peculiar people means someone who's different. They stand out, they don't stand in. They stand apart, they don't stand together. In terms of when it comes to being unique, different, peculiar, weird. In this satanic system, they should be really weird. You know what I'm saying? When everyone's going skinny jeans, they should be doing the opposite. When everyone's doing rainbow flags in disrespect, they should be doing the opposite. Like everything in this satanic system, for want of a better word, in this system of Satan, they should be a virus. In this system of Satan, they should be a virus. That's what a peculiar people is. Above all peoples, that they should keep Sabbath together with us. Okay. He caused his commands to ascend as a sweet Savior, acceptable before him all the days. Now here's the chart of Jacob. If you're not familiar with who he is or what he's about, you can see it there for yourself. So, chart of Jacob's 12 sons. So he was married to Leah and to Rachel, and I had concubines, Zilpah and Bilhah, and he had sons from these wives. So there was Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Then there was Dan, Naphtali. Then there was Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun. They also had a daughter called Dinah. And there was Joseph and Benjamin. And then there's Manasseh and Ephraim. Yes, so there's loads of sons that Jacob had. So that's Jacob's family. Exodus 16, 25 to 26. What nation was chosen before conception or before their inauguration? We can answer that question and say it was Jacob. Okay. You know what? I wanted to put another scripture in here, Give me 2 seconds because it goes with what we're saying. Approve. Find that now. Yes. There it is. Oh, you know what? I should have put another a precept in here, I'm just getting impressed to put a precept in here, but I might. Okay. I don't think I can find it right now because it's on my app on my phone. Okay. There's a precept. It's in Wisdom of Solomon, or it might be in Ecclesiasticus, and it says, before you have a friend, or before you consider a friend, you should prove him. Yeah. So before you consider a friend, you don't just you have your little, someone's your friend, they're your brethren. That's fine. But you're supposed to prove them to see, wagwan. So Exodus 16. Verse 4, because many people think that the Sabbath was given during the commandments, but the Sabbath was given before Exodus 20. It was given in Exodus 16 as well, So the Sabbath existed before Mount Sinai, the commandments and this, that, the other. It's always been in existence. We just seen it there. It's been in existence from Genesis. We see it in Genesis. We see it in Jubilees. Yeah, the Sabbath has always been in existence. Now, Exodus 16 verse 4, then said Elohim unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day. Why? What's the point? That I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. Whether they will walk in my law or no. Now the or no means whether they're going to do it or not. That's basically what he's saying. So there you see the Most High proving whether Israel is going to be a friend or not. You know what I'm trying to say? He was proving them. Now the precept in Wisdom of Solomon, he says, before you just make a friend, you should prove them. Yeah, that was the precept I was going to throw in there. Exodus 16, 25 to 26. And Moses said, eat that to the day, for to the day is a Sabbath unto the Lord. To a day ye shall not find in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath in it, there shall be none. So the Sabbath existed. Well, it's always existed. But people always like to mention that the Sabbath existed at the time of Mount Sinai, 10 Commandments, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But it already existed. And as we go through Book of Jubilees, you'll see, it's a very good read. We're only just skimming on the surface. We're just skimming. We haven't even got anywhere into Jubilees. We've just touched chapter 1. Now we're touching chapter 2. But then, there's levels to the cake. Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. Okay, and then we see Moses said, eat to the day, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find in the field. 6 days ye shall gather, But on the seventh day, which is a Sabbath, in it there shall be none. Read Exodus 20. That's when you get the Ten Commandments. Hope that makes sense. Just so that people some people might not be aware. Okie dokie. So, Ecclesiasticus 7, verse 12, on the topic of the firstborn. So this is the precept of Ezra's confirming the firstborn. Because sometimes people like to look at the blessing that's on Jacob and just link it to just to link it to Yeshua alone. So say the blessing was only on Yeshua, and because they did what they did to Yeshua, the blessing just stopped with them. They're just locked off as a nation, as a people. They're just thrown by the wayside. Forget them. And then you have people even have the audacity to claim that they are the nation of Israel, or they'll even you'll have churches claim that they are the nation of Israel. You'll have churches claim that they are the people of the book. You'll have people make all these absurd statements that go at variance with the scripture. Yeah, very much so go at variance with the scripture. Let's continue. Ecclesiasticus 36, verse 7 to 12. Raise up indignation and pour out wrath. Take away the adversary and destroy the enemy. This is the prayer. Wow. Can you imagine someone saying that in church when it comes to an issue of oppression? They'd be like, that's not very prophet-like or, Christian-like. Anyway, raise up indignation and pour out wrath. Take away the adversary and destroy the enemy. Sake the time short, remember the covenant, and let them declare thy wonderful works. Let him that escapeth be consumed by the rage of fire, and let them perish that oppress the people. Smite in sunder the heads of the rulers of the heathen that say, there is none other but we. So the people who say there's no God, we are God, or those who make themselves like God, or those who have that Pharaoh mentality and believe that they are the be-all and end-all, and they won't let the people go. Yeah? So it's a smite in sunder the heads of the rulers of the heathen that say, there is none other but we. Gather all the tribes of Jacob together, and inherit thou them as from the beginning. O Lord, have mercy upon the people that is called by thy name, and upon Israel, whom thou hast named thy firstborn. Okay. Now, I believe this is still following on from... Okay. Where is this from now? Let's see where this is from. Okay. Is that following on the same? Yeah, it is. Okay, my bad. Bring that back down. So, O Lord, have mercy upon the people that is called by thy name, and upon Israel, whom thou hast named thy firstborn. Then it says, O be merciful unto Jerusalem, thy holy city, the place of thy rest. Fill Zion with unspeakable. This is what they're asking now, This is what they're asking for the oppressors to be dealt with. And then they're also asking for the word to come back to their people. Fill Zion with thine unspeakable oracles, and thy people with thy glory. Give testimony unto those that has possessed them from the beginning, and raise up prophets that have been in thy name. Reward them that wait for thee, and let the prophets be found faithful. Now, just a precept to link how the Most High sees things and calls people before they even know that they're worthy of being called. He sees people and he knows people before they're even worthy of being called. Yeah, everyone has the freedom of choice. They have the freedom to do what they need to do. Yeah, the Most High doesn't limit people's freedom, but he knows, due to foreknowledge, due to being the Alpha and Omega, the paths that people are going to take in life. It's like, what's the example of foreknowledge that I could use to probably illustrate the point? Okay, I can't think of an illustration right now. But yeah, he has the foreknowledge anyway. So Jeremiah was called to be a prophet. Now, was Jeremiah called to be a prophet of religion, or was he called to be a prophet of nations? Was he sending Jeremiah to be a prophet in the name of religion, or was he sending Jeremiah to be a prophet in the name of nation? Let's find out. And also, when did he call Jeremiah? Did he call Jeremiah when Jeremiah knew he was, he was worthy? Or did he call Jeremiah when he didn't even know what left and right was? Let's find out. So Jeremiah 1 verse 4 to 5. Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, when I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Is that what it says? Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest out of the womb, I set you apart or sanctified thee. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. The Most High, wait there. Yeah, okay. So we see that Jeremiah, Salaki, was a prophet, not to religion, but to nations. This is what he said, I adorned thee a prophet unto the nations. He didn't say, I adorned thee a prophet unto Christianity, unto Islam, unto Mormonism, unto Judaism, unto any ism or schism. He said, I'm calling you from your nation to be a prophet unto other nations. That's it. No religion, no semantics, no nothing, just that. I'm setting you aside from your nation to go out and to speak unto all nations in my name. That was it. Okay. How many generations to Jacob, and who was to be blessed? Jubilees 2:23 to 28. There were 22 heads of mankind from Adam to now guys, this is still, let me just drink my water. This is still the Genesis account according to Jubilees. I don't know if I mentioned it, but Jubilees is called the Little Genesis. So it's a book called the Little Genesis, and it gives more insight into the account of Genesis and what was really being discussed in Genesis. So this is still the beginning. Okay. So there were 22 heads of mankind from Adam to Jacob, and 22 kinds of work were made until the seventh day. You seen it? Let's go back, guys. How many things were created on the sixth day? 22 kinds, We looked at that already. Very interesting. 22 kinds were made until the seventh day. And there's 22 heads of mankind from Adam to Jacob. This is the blessed and holy, and the former also is blessed and the holy. And this one serves with that one for sanctification and blessing. Okay. And to this Jacob and his seed, yeah, in it was granted that they should always be blessed and the holy ones of the first testimony and law, even as he have sanctified and blessed the Sabbath day on the seventh day. He created heaven and earth and everything he created in 6 days, and God created the seventh day holy for all his works. Therefore, he commanded on its behalf that whoever does any work thereon shall die, and that who defiles it, shall surely die. Wherefore, do thou command the children of Israel to observe this day, that they may keep it holy, and not do thereon any work, and not to defile it, as it is holier than all other days. So, how many generations to Jacob? 22. Who was to be blessed? Jacob and his seed, his offspring, his prosperity. Interestingly, when you look at, on a side note, when you look at many inventors, especially during the slave trade, many of those inventions and ideas came from a particular people, So even in our oppressed state, we were still a blessing to nations, Powerful. Okay. Verse 27. And whoever profanes it shall surely die, and whoever does thereon any work shall surely die eternally, that children of Israel may observe this day throughout their generations, and not be rooted out of the land. for it is a holy day and a blessed day, and everyone who observes it and keeps Sabbath thereon from all his work will be holy and blessed throughout all days like unto us. Now, I'll just open this up so you can see the ancestry. All right, where's my arrow gun? There he is. All right. You guys probably want to see the 22. Okay. So you had Adam, you had Seth, Enos, Canaan, Methuselah, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, Shem, Arphaxad, Salah, Eber, Peleg, Ru, Sarug, Nahor, Terah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay, so 22. So 22, and interestingly, there's 22 kinds of, I think it was things created. Well, all right then. Very interesting, nevertheless. Let's move on from this one. So, yeah, just to point out, so Jacob and his seed, so who was blessed? There will always be blessed, Jacob and his seed. Even in, like I said, even in an oppressed state, it was still a blessing to others, you know. Even when people were oppressing them, being awful to them. I mean, if you look at Egypt, you know, most of the things that you see in Egypt were built by the Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? Most of the things you see in America was built by the Hebrews. Most things you see all over the world where we have been, we've left a legacy, we've left a mark. Even though people like to then discredit, destroy, shoot off the nose, shoot off this, shoot off that, cripple this, cripple that, whitewash this, whitewash that. You know, they can't, you know what I'm saying? It's just there, it's irrefutable. People know if they're being truthful, but you know, white supremacy is a hell of a drug. Not only to white people, or so-called white people, but to black people too. Okay. Anywho, my Hebrew. So, we looked at, I wanted to talk about, where is it? Where are we again? Was it the first testimony? That's what I wanted to, okay, so, some might say, but this is talking about the first testimony. So you guys ain't really blessed. I mean, that was the first testimony. We're under the new covenant. We're under this, we're under that. It's a new this, it's a new that. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So we're looking at this first testimony here. Okay, so we see that this was forecasted in the book of Genesis. Yeah, the book of Jubilees, the account. And book of Jubilees is literally called the Little Genesis. And I gave you the background on the book of Jubilees and the historicism and yada, yada, yada on part 1. So check out part 1 and you'll see, you know, the Jubilees, etc., etc., the background behind it. Anyway, so, and to this, Jacob and his seed, it was granted that they should always be blessed and holy ones. That means just set apart, just different from our hair, like from our mannerisms, our customs, and this, that, the other. We've always had a little flair that's just been different as a nation. You know, I'm not dealing with no religion. I'm dealing with a nation of people. Yeah, always had something that's just been different. And often been monetized or misrepresented because people were fearful or people were intimidated by it or people were jealous by it, you know? So it is what it is. But anyway, saying that, you know, I watched something the other day called Junior Doctors, yeah? And it was a Pakistani lady and a Arab, yeah? And they're these doctors, yeah? And then I heard the two doctors, yeah, they're talking to each other on the ward. Because my daughter wants to be a doctor in it, so I let her watch all these doctor things to try and make that image stick, you know, like, yeah, man, you can do it, just, you know. I'm not no doctor, but hopefully you can try a thing, you know. So anyway, watching the thing, and the doctors were like, Wagwan, bro. Or they said like, Wagwan, and obviously that's Jamaican patois, innit? And wherever, like, Caribbean people go in England, people just want to emulate, you know. They don't want to be us, granted, but they want to emulate us. They want, because I think it's cool. So, for example, any child of the diaspora, when it comes to doing certain jobs, you'll be employed in a heartbeat because your profile is cool. you're profiled as exotic. You're profiled with these things that are bad, but there can be, I don't want to say you can use bad for good, but sometimes, a blessing can come out of that sticky situation. You know what I'm trying to say? Because of how they profile us. But generally, like even the Nigerian people, them, the Igbos and them, like when they're around a Jamaican, like they're just, like there's a man like Skepta, they'll just start busting out in some patois. But you won't really see Jamaicans doing that, if that makes sense. You won't really see them talking in the next man's tongue like that. But people will often copy the Caribbean man's tongue, or you know what I'm trying to say. So there's always, wherever we go, we just leave a mark, and that goes to the Judah man them as well. Like wherever man them go, they'll just leave a little mark, a little flair, a little something, But all right then. So, and to Jacob and his seed, it was granted that they should always be blessed and holy ones of the first testimony and law, even as he had sanctified and blessed the Sabbath day on the seventh day. Yeah, so people might say, "Wow, this is just the first testimony, man. This is Old Testament stuff. This ain't New Testament." Okay. Keep your hair on. All right, so let's get to where we are today, so we can flush this out a little bit. So, the first covenant, first testimony, had been for if the first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, not with the covenant, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, where I will make a new covenant with the house of Christianity, Mormonism, and Jehovah's Witnessism and Islamism, and no. It says, for finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Now we know the two, or should I say, we know the two were divided. 10 in the north, 2 in the south, yada yada yada. So that's what was going on there. Now it says, not according to the covenant that I made with their mothers. They say mothers, because in the Jewish community they follow bloodline through the mum, and everything's through the mum. You're a Jew through your mum. But the Bible doesn't deal with mum like that. When you go to and do genealogies, which I wouldn't recommend you do, or ancestry.com and stuff like that, they have to have a dad to find who where you go back to or where you're from. I wouldn't recommend anyone do that stuff because it just seems nefarious to me. But nevertheless, it says, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers. Hence why they're trying to get dads out the house in our community, Dads are powerful when they know what they are and who they are. That's another story. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they, fathers, continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them Yahuwah, and they shall be to me a people. In that he saith a new covenant. He hath made the first old, that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away. Then verily the first covenant had also ordinances of divine service and a worldly sanctuary. So connected to the first covenant was animal sacrifices, was the sanctuary service, killing an ox, killing a goat, killing set apart animals. Let me not make animals up, but killing certain animals, and doing certain offerings of this, that, and the other. Yeah, those things were nailed, and that covenant no longer exists. So when you listen to a certain type of people saying they want to build a temple, and they want to build a temple so they can continue on sacrifices, I'm asking, what angel, what star are they trying to sacrifice to? Because we know the morning star, the Hamashiach, you know what I'm saying? That thing's done away with now. He's already paid the price. He's already made the ultimate sacrifice. So who are they trying to sacrifice to is what I'm asking. So the new covenant was remade or renewed with who? It was renewed with who? With Israel. What is the New Testament? What is the new testimony or covenant that I will make? What does it say? I will put my laws in their mind and write them in their hearts. He's going to put the laws in our mind and write them in our hearts. There's people that have never read a Bible in their life. This is the thing that I learned when I was looking at the slavery history. There were some slaves here that weren't privy to the Bible, but they had precepts in their mind, you know. They had precepts. They had the precepts, you know. It was just in them not to do certain things and this, that, and the other. It was just amazing, you know. But anyway, so that covenant of the sanctuary service, killing an ox, washing in the laver, eating the showbread, lighting an incense, all those things were nailed to the cross. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to eat the bread of life, and that you don't have to make incense of prayers, and that you don't need to be baptized in the lava, and that you don't need to be repentant of your sins at the altar. That's still in existence, but it's not a physical thing anymore. It's a spiritual thing now. So our prayers are incense. Our sacrifices when we overcome ourselves and we overcome our sin, through the Hamashiach. Or should I say the ultimate sacrifice is the Hamashiach. And we go to the altar of repentance. So the furniture's still there symbolically, but it's not there physically. So we don't physically, just to reiterate, we don't physically have to kill certain things and do certain things today like that, because that covenant no longer exists. All right. This is the covenant that I will make. Am I repeating the same? No, I'm not. This is the covenant that I will make with them after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their hearts, and in their minds will I write them. Of how much sore punishment, suppose ye, should be thought worthy who have trodden under the foot the son of Yahuwah. So who trod him under the foot? Who gave him away? Who said free us Barabbas? Who just said, yeah man, we don't want nothing to do with him. He's a goody two shoes. He's ruined, fill in the blanks. Anyway, and have counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified, an unholy thing. So when they were sanctified as a separate people, as a special people, they regarded it as an unholy thing. They didn't want to be set apart. They didn't want to be sanctified. They wanted to be westernized, civilized, Christianized, Mormonized, Adventistized, plagiarized, Islamicized. You know what I'm saying? And have done despite unto the Spirit of grace. And Yeshua, the mediator of the new covenant, and to the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel. Very interesting. Okay. Jubilees 2:29 to 31. It says, declare and say to the children of Israel, the law of... Okay, what's the question first? What nation was set apart to keep Sabbath? And what will be observed on the new earth? So they're the two questions. Declare and say unto the children of Israel, the law of this day, both that they should keep Sabbath thereon, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their hearts, and that it is not lawful to do work thereon, which is unseemly to do thereon, their own pleasure, and that they should not prepare thereon anything to be eaten or drunk, and that it is not lawful to draw water or to bring in or take out thereon through their gates any burden which they had not prepared for themselves on the 6th day in their dwelling, and that they should not bring in nor take out from their house to house on that day, for that day is holy and blessed. Than any Jubilee day of Jubilees, on this day we kept the Sabbath in their heavens before it was made known to any flesh to keep Sabbath thereon on earth. So the Sabbath was kept on heaven before it was kept on earth. And we know that Yeshua says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So it's kept in heaven, it needs to be kept on earth. If it's kept on earth, it needs to be kept on heaven. We're not going to... Some people are like, I don't want to keep the Sabbath. It's my shopping day. But when the earth's made new and this, that, and the other, we're going to be doing it anyway. So if you don't like it here, you're definitely not going to fit in there. Because you're still going to have your same character, But let's move on. And the creator of all things blessed it, but he did not sanctify it. Listen. But he did not sanctify all peoples and nations to keep Sabbath thereon, but Israel alone. Them alone he permitted to eat and drink, and to keep the Sabbath thereon on the earth. Now I know a lot of people, a lot of Gentiles potentially got a bit happy with that one and said, yay, told you we don't need to keep Sabbath, it's just for you Hebrews. Alright, we're going to address that question further on. So which nation was set apart to keep the Sabbath? Yasharal. And what will be observed on the new earth? Let's find out. Isaiah 66:22-23. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith Yahuwah, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahuwah. So we see what will be observed on the new earth? The Sabbath. So the Sabbath's not going anywhere. So if you don't like it here now, you find it difficult here now, you're definitely going to find it unpalatable in the earth made new. Now, don't get it twisted for a microsecond, you know. When I came into the knowledge of Sabbath, I kind of detested it. In Malachi, it says they couldn't wait for the sun to set and to falsify the balances. They couldn't wait for the sun to set so they could go back to doing stuff that they probably shouldn't be doing. Or, you know, I didn't really like Sabbath, if I'm being very truthful, because I like to do things my way on my day, how I want to do it. So when I came to the Sabbath, you know, acknowledging the Sabbath truth, you know, I was like, oh man, I'm used to Sunday. Like I can do a Sunday thing, you know, give the Most High, you know, 2 hours in a Sunday church, dance, sing, you know, jump around, do a backflip. Like I can do that. That's calm. That's easy. It doesn't really interfere with my lifestyle. I don't really need to make a lifestyle change. I can just do the same thing, do all of that, come home, watch football, play football. You know, it don't really affect me too much. But when you just let go and let Yah, it's a blessing. Like I said, I was kind of wrestling with it initially. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is horrible. But then when you start to accept it, and it's a blessing, you know. I wouldn't be able to do these studies if it weren't for Sabbath. If I was on Sunday mode, it'd just be like an hour thing and I'm gone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it'd just be... But the Sabbath is really, really a blessing. It's a blessing on so many levels. It's a blessing physically. You get, you know, good rest. Having a time out to spend with your family. You can just fill in the blanks. It's really a blessing. But initially, I ain't gonna lie. It was a nightmare. I didn't like it. But taste buds change. And the Most High is able to refine you. You know? Very much so. All right then. Now, what was Israel to do with the law? Were they to withhold the law? Or were they to share the law? Were they to keep it to themselves? Or were they to share it with others? Were they to be an exclusive club? Or were they to be an inviting club? What were they supposed to be? Deuteronomy 31 verse 11 to 13. When all Israel is come to appear before Yahuwah Yah in the place which he shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Gather the people together, men and women and children, and thy stranger that is within thy gates, that they may hear and that they may learn and fear Yahuwah your Yah, and observe to do all the words of this law. And guess what? Not just them, but their children too. This is talking about the strangers' kids now. That their children, which have not known anything, may hear and learn to fear the Lord your Yahuwah, as long as ye live in the land, whether ye go over Jordan to possess it. So there was a mandate, and notice it was the strangers that was within thy gates. So it's the strangers that have already made a commitment to come into, to acknowledge and come in, as it were. These weren't the ones outside the gates, because you know that when the Sabbath came or when certain things came, the gates were closed and no one could come in and out. But these are the people who were actually in in the vicinity, in the jurisdiction, in Israel. Yeah, he says you need to teach them that they may hear and learn and fear, along with your own people, and observe to do all the words of this law. And not just them, but their children, which haven't known anything, may hear, learn, and fear the Lord your God, as long as ye live in the land wherever ye go over Jordan to possess it. Then Yeshua HaMashiach says in Matthew 28:19, go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Ruach HaKodesh. So we see there precepts upon precepts where it was never supposed to be withholden, it was supposed to be shared. But because of a lot of backlash from the heathens and the Gentiles and the people that were, because not everyone was hostile to Israel, at the apex of Israel, other nations were coming to Israel. Solomon, his temple was built by the help of other nations. Sheba came to Solomon and she wanted to understand his proverbs. So at the apex, Israel was very, it was like it was a light in Goshen. It was a light in a dark place. But then at the downfall, and as Israel started to compromise with Baal and Jezebel and all these other entities and foreign ladies and strange gods and star worship and star wars, and as it started to drift further away from Yah, then they started to oppress and then become oppressed and go from one extreme to another. Anyway, which day is to be exalted? Still second Jubilees. And the Creator of all things blessed the day which he had created for a blessing and holiness and glory above all days. This law and testimony was given to the children of Yasharal as a law forever unto their generations. Now remember we're saying it says that, where was it gone now? Okay, there it is, 31. And the Creator of all things blessed it, but he did not sanctify all peoples and nations to keep Sabbath thereon. So then people might be like, oh, yeah, we don't have to keep it. It's just Yasharal. Because it says, but Israel alone. Yeah, then when we go, what we just read, we see that obviously it's just saying that it was given to Israel as like the Most High's, for one of a better word, police officers. Blue represents law, fringes, all these kind of things. It was like the Most High's law enforcement, but we were supposed to teach others the law too. Now, we're going to come to the question, do other nations have to keep the Sabbath? Just bear that in mind. We're going to come to that after this slide. So what is the preparation day? Because here it says, talks about all this stuff about preparing. What is the preparation day? Now, I'll be honest, sometimes I don't even get the preparation day right, and I hope that Yah gives me grace to get it, to move into obedience on the preparation side of things. But what is the preparation day? So, Mark 15:42. Now, when the even was come, because it was the preparation, that is the day before the Sabbath. So the day before the Sabbath is known as the preparation day. So the day before the Sabbath is when you're supposed to be preparing for the Sabbath, getting things in order, this, that, and the other. The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation that the bodies should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for that the Sabbath day was a high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away. So preparation day, they just didn't want any, they didn't want their sin to be left out openly. They wanted it to be hidden for the Sabbath. How many people sin just before Sabbath and then want it to be taken away? They sin just before Sabbath and then ask Pilate to take it away. Don't put your hand up. Anyway, how serious was this day to be taken, the preparation day, or the Sabbath day for that matter? How serious was this day to be taken? Luke 23, 53 to Luke 24, verse 3. Now the context is dealing with Yeshua when he was crucified and then being wrapped up and then laying in a tomb. Okay, so Luke 23 says, and he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulchre that was hewn in stone, wherein never man before was laid. And that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. So the day when all that was happening was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. And the women also, which came with him from Galilee, followed after, and beheld the sepulchre, and how his body was laid. Now listen to what they did. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment. So you have the Hamashiach dead. The Sabbath's coming on now, and the Hamashiach's dead. And because the Sabbath's coming, this is after Christ now. This is how important they regarded the Sabbath. The Hamashiach's dead. You could justify this and say, look, man, I had to work on the Sabbath day like this because, you get me, it's the Hamashiach, innit? I couldn't just leave him there to rot and to go all sour and have worms on him and that. So, I had to compromise and work and get things and do things and wrap him up and mummify him and do all these kind of things because, it's the Messiah, it's the Hamashiach. Like, they could have, made a case for transgressing the Most High's law because of the circumstance. You with me? But check out their response. And the women also which came with him from Galilee followed after and beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid. And what did they do? They returned and went home, And they returned and prepared spices, ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment. Then what happened? Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they woke up, got up, brushed their teeth, combed their hair, probably. And then they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them. And they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre, and they entered in and found not the body of the Lord Yeshua. I just wanted to highlight that. They took it very seriously, man. Like, you're in your right, you would think, to make an excuse to transgress because, you're doing a good deed. I've heard people, I remember this one person who loved doing music and that, and they would say, wow, I need to do this charity event on Sabbath because it's a good thing. Now don't get it. There's a thin line between most things. You with me? Now Yeshua says, is it wrong to do good on the Sabbath? But if you're doing it because it's vainglory, you just want to do it because, charity and worship and this, that, the other. You know your intention in it. But if someone's broke down on the road or someone's got a leak in their house and they need your assistance, then by all means, assist. You with me? But we know when it's a vainglory thing and when you do it for man's honor and to be seen. Well, only you guys would know the reason behind what the things you do and don't do. All right, so almost finished. Now, are Israel and the Gentiles required to keep the seventh day Sabbath today? Because we read earlier or previously that only Israel was to keep the law. But then we saw that Israel was to share the law with others. So it only makes sense if you're sharing the law with others, then others who are in Israel inside the gate should also be keeping the law as Israel is keeping the law. So all right then. Are Israel and Gentiles required to keep the seventh day Sabbath today? Acts 13:42. And when the Jews were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath. So they couldn't wait to hear the word from Sabbath to Sabbath. They were just excited. They were gassed. They were happy. They were just overwhelmed. I can't wait to hear the Sabbath. I can't wait to be a part of the fellowship next Sabbath. That's what they were on. The Gentiles besought them, And the next Sabbath day came, almost the whole city to hear the word of Yahuwah. So the whole city was like, yo, or yo. My voice went croaky then. But yeah, man, everyone was gassed, happy, elated, excited to hear the word of the Most High Yah. Nowadays, everyone's just happy to see Kanye West and chicken fillet. But that's another story for another day. Acts 15:21. For Moses or Moshe of old time, have in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. For Moses of old time, have in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. Moses, the book of Moses, that's referring to. And on the Sabbath day, we went out of the city by the riverside, where prayer was wont to be made, and we sat down and spake unto the woman which restored hither. And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbaths days reasoned with them out of the scriptures. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath, and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. So we see that, yes, Gentiles, you're still required to keep the Sabbath if you're in the gate. If you're not in the gate, do your own thing, innit? You're not, but it is what it is. And that goes to everyone though, and that's just a serious thing. All right, so study's pretty much over. Next lesson. Okay, next lesson we're gonna go on Jubilees chapter 3. It gets a little bit more interesting.